1914 to 1918 is the day range of World War I. Please tell me what year. I'm really not going to compete over you. It's a massive headache and I can't really breathe. So, what year does the Russian Revolution occur? First major March Revolution and the Bolshevik. What is it? Ian. 1917. On your whiteboard, please tell me, who is the last Tsar of Russia? Who is the last Tsar of Russia? Good. Who is it? Camden. Nicholas II. What country who fought in World War I would have the motto, to make the world safe for democracy? Think about it. Who would say something like that? Good. Sophia. U.S. On your whiteboard, please tell me, women earn what after the war? Women earned what after the war? It looks like you're saying robes. And so, huh? No, we don't earn jobs. We had jobs working in factories before. What did we earn? What do you got? Natalie? Suffrage. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what country benefits the most during World War I? Because no one is watching them because they're all busy fighting in the trenches. So they're expanding their territory in a massive way. Lily? Japan. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is it called when we divide the Middle East amongst the victors post-World War I? It was on the back of your map. What do we call it? Good, I got 1, 2. Wow. Good. Garrett, what are they? Mandate system. On your whiteboard, please tell me, Germany justified the sinking of the Lusitania by what practice they had? What was the name of their little practice they used to say? I think they were justified because we were smuggling them weapons, but like, what the hell? Miss Murphy. Unrestricted submarine warfare. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the name of the treaty that gets Russia out of World War I? Good. Abby, he's not my friend. There you go. On your whiteboard, please tell me, why is World War I a global war? Why is World War I a global war? Think about it. It makes sense. We've talked about it. You know this. Good. I have one answer that I think is better than the others. Good. What is it, Jackson? Imperialism, because they all had colonies, correct? We talked about we had Indians fighting in the Western Front, correct? We had Sikhs wearing their headpiece, fighting in the trenches. Like, that's crazy. What do you got? Well,
I thought it'd be like alliances because, like, it was just originally between Austria.
It's all Europe. That's all Europe. That's not a world war. It's in Europe. They're pulling from India. We've got people from Africa. We've got people fighting everywhere. What do you got?
So you could say all continents are involved?
Yeah, all fronts are. Absolutely. Japan gets involved in, like, 1917 because they're like, oh, Germany's about to lose. I'll take those colonies. Let's do this. So they sign up to fight on the Allied team during World War I because they want all of Germany's colonies, which they've been grabbing land masses all the way throughout. And so during the Treaty of Versailles, Japan's like, hey, we sent you a couple guns. Can we have Germany's colonies? And they're like, yeah, for sure. Here you go. And that's why Japan got involved. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what country was the most suppressive of nationalism? Think about it. Nationalism is when you're forcing people. What country is the most suppressive? Yeah, I got 2 right answers. If you think about it logically, 3 right answers. Miss Murphy, who is it? Why is Austria-Hungary logically the worst country?
I don't know. I just remembered the assassination of...
Yes! Okay? You don't go around killing people if they really didn't do you wrong, correct? So Serbia was being oppressed. They wanted their own nationalistic government. So what they did is they killed. Think about it. Makes no sense logically. On your guys, I'm clearly reading off something. Can we agree?
Are you recording this on your video?
Every single thing about it.
Are you recording this?
Yes. On your whiteboard. What were you asking, Karen?
You said they suppressed?
Yeah, they were suppressing nationalistic aspirations, which means they stopped the Serbians from having their own nationalistic components. On your whiteboard, please tell me what caused trench warfare. What German plan caused caused trench warfare? Good, Trey.
The Schiffman.
Schifflin plan. On your whiteboard, please tell me what is the name of the actual gentleman who overthrew the Russian government, but not Nicholas II because he was already down? Good. Who is it? Will. Lenin. On your whiteboard, please tell me. The Triple Entente originally began with what two countries? Both of these countries swear they were ride or die. If one goes to war, the other would go to war. Eventually, Britain shows up. No. Good. Allie, who are they? France and Russia. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what is the first country to declare war during World War I? Think about it logically. Think about it logically. Good. Who is it, Benji? Why was Austria-Hungary the first country to declare war, Benji? Yeah, why wouldn't it be Serbia? Why isn't Serbia the answer? Why, Abby?
Are they smaller than Greece and they don't want to
No, I mean, I see where you're going, but no. Why is it not Serbia-Hungary, Jackson? Serbia. Why is it not? Will?
Because Serbia didn't like want to start a war, they just killed that one guy. And then Austria.
Was he working for the government, guys?
No, he
He was working for the Black Hand people, correct? He was doing his own little thing. He was a random citizen who decided to kill the Archduke of Austria-Hungary. Well, yes, but they were like, what the hell are you doing? And then they got invaded real quick. On your whiteboard, please tell me. The answer is Austria-Hungary. If the answer is not Serbia, because Gavrilo Princip is not a government leader. I can kill a French citizen here in the United States. Did I declare war on France? If I kill the Prime Minister of France as a private citizen, did the United States declare war on France? It's the same exact thing. Does that make sense? All right, what?
Isn't there like an ultimatum that Austria-Hungary gave?
Austria-Hungary told Germany, if I go to war, you better come back. And Serbia was allies, had a secret treaty with Russia. So that's why the explosion occurred.
But like I thought Austria-Hungary gave Serbia an ultimatum, and like Serbia couldn't do anything that they wanted.
Oh, of course. I mean, they couldn't play game the same field as Austria-Hungary. They were industrialized. They had all these other things. Serbia's not. Serbia just wanted its independence. They did everything they possibly could to get it. They couldn't, but the government wasn't ready to declare war. So, I mean, were the people, like, wanting the guy dead? Yes, but did the government want to commit war? No. Just like why we aren't killing Kim Jong-un, correct? We're not killing him yet, even though the U.S. government has hated this entire family since the 1960s. Once we lost the Korean War, we didn't just go in and kill the guy because we don't want them bombing us and shelling us back, then we have to go to war. We just don't want that thing to happen. If a U.S. citizen kills Kim Jong-un, who is not part of the government, it could cause a world war, correct? But it's not the U.S. government condoning it. Matthew.
So is there like a triple word for Italy, Austria, and then Germany?
They're not really with them that long. They switched teams to the other side, but it's not really going to be that long of a time. All right, here we go. To your notes. Let's go. We got a lot to cover. So yesterday we got to Russia, correct? We didn't get that far, though, correct? Okay, perfect. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to come back to my board here in a second. Is that okay? So, the Central Powers. I'm just going to... Oh, you want to finish that to have it all done, don't you?
Oh, there's
okay,
2 out of 3 done. That's
okay.
just not right.
Okay, let's do it. Catherine wants it. Catherine gets what Catherine wants. I'm just going to stand over here. Don't worry about it. All right, so first up is the March Revolution that happens in 1917. Tsar Nicholas II steps down because of pressure from World War I. Citizens dying. All the major reasons we talked about is going to push Tsar. I guess I'm going this way because I can't. So Tsar Nicholas is going to step down. The Duma is going to take over. Is this going to make it easier or harder for Lenin to overthrow? Easier, because they're not going to do a good job because it's an autocratic government and all of a sudden you have a representative body. It's not going to go well. So the second stage is the Bolshevik Revolution. This is where Lenin overthrows the government. Lenin is a devout Marxist. He really believes in the Communist Manifesto. So he overthrows the Duma and begins the Soviet Union. It's not done by the proletariat. As soon as he comes to power, 3 days after he overthrows the Duma, he distributes all the land to the people. Do you think that's going to go well? No, it goes actually terribly. Okay? Within about 6 months, he signs the Brest-Litovsk Treaty with Germany, and some of the people are really happy. Now, as soon as this happens like the next day. Okay? Bolshevik Revolution happens. Okay, there's about 6 months in between these. 6 months here. There's 1 day. As soon as the Bolshevik Revolution happens, all of a sudden a group called the Mensheviks, they're more moderate communists, come into play. They are going to have a civil war. And this civil war is going to last 4 years, and it's going to kill 14 million people, not 11 million people. I know, 3 million people, I couldn't keep count. Okay? So, it is the Reds versus the Whites. The Reds are the Bolsheviks. You know, Lenin loves his red. So the Reds are the Bolsheviks, the White are the Mensheviks. The Mensheviks and moderates. The Bolsheviks are radicals. Okay? So this war is going to rage from 1917 to 1922. Bolsheviks are going to win. Spoiler alert. We should have known that, correct? So, what's going to happen? The Russian Civil War is going to kill 14 million people. Keep in mind that the World War I is going to kill about 8 million Russians. So on top of the 8 million Russians who are dying in World War I, we have an additional 14 million people dying in a Russian Civil War. There's a lot of people in Russia. There's a lot of them are dead. Keep in mind, we're coming up on World War II, where 22 million Russians are going to die. Which is why, if you're looking for a mail-order bride, gentlemen, they're mostly coming from Russia or former Soviet countries, because all of them are going to be a part of it. So, the Central Powers are going to collapse in March of 1918. The Germans are going to start losing. So we're moving out of Russia. We're going to write, if you want to write the heading of End of World War I, that's fine. The Russians are out. They leave in 1917. The Americans are in 1917 after the sinking of the Lusitania and the Zimmerman Note. 1918, in March, they're going to have one final big fight. It's called the Second Battle of Marne. Just listen. You don't have to write down. No one's ever going to ask you. The Second Battle of Marne is going to be the largest battle ever fought on land until World War II. And that's the problem with World War I. I say these things and then they get outdone in World War II. The reason why the Second Battle of Marne is a big deal, it's the first time full American forces are there. We have about 2 million Americans in Marne. If you go to Marne today, you are going to see, as we can see, they're well celebrated, these Americans. There's a massive chapel with written all of the men who died in the First Battle of Marne and the Second Battle of Marne. I would like to see it in France, but we're not going to see it this summer. I checked. We're not even close to it. So, what's going to happen is, as soon as the Second Battle of Marne is done, that's the final battle, you're going to see that Germany is going to collapse. In November 9th, Kaiser Wilhelm II steps down. You're going to want to write that down. November 9th, 1918, Kaiser Wilhelm II steps down. Okay? Then we're going to have the official end of World War I on November 11th, 1918. What do you got? Oh, he's the leader of Germany. He took Otto von Bismarck, took him out of power, and he was the guy who led them into World War I. Okay? So, he took everything Otto von Bismarck accomplished with his blood and iron, yes? kicked him out of power and said, okay, Germany's mine now. Oh, let's go to war. We need more territory. Ta-da, here we are. Okay, so it comes to an end in November 11th. It used to be called Armistice Day. It was the day of everlasting peace. We don't call it Armistice Day today. Why? What happened in between today and then? World War II. We now call it Veterans Day. Because we now, after World War II, we had veterans from World War I and World War I and World War II. And here we go, people celebrating all around the war. It's important to note that you're going to have about 6 million Russians are going to be killed. You're going to have about 2 million of everyone else being killed. You have 21 million people are wounded. You're going to have a cost of just listen, you're just going to have a cost of $338 billion in today's money. No war, nothing. All of the deaths in World War I are the grand total of every other war fought in history. That includes your Romans, your Greeks, your Persians, your Islamic territories. All of those deaths totaled up are what count in World War I. Next week, what we're doing is the Age of Anxiety. After World War I, everything changes. The art changes, right, Ren? Oh, yeah, it's super depressing. Everything's ugly. It's called the Age of Anxiety, right? Am I wrong?
It's not ugly.
It's really sad. It's the age of disillusionment. So, we got tons of casualties. Okay, so then we're going to sign the Peace of All Peace called the Treaty of Versailles. You're going to want to write this down. The Treaty of Versailles is signed in 1918, and it ends World War I. Okay? It is written primarily by Woodrow Wilson. You want to write that down. Don't worry about the other three dudes up there. Okay? It's primarily written by Woodrow Wilson, and he writes it of the style called the 14 Points. Now, fun fact for all you trivia lovers, the United States is still at war during World War I. Today in 2018, we're still at war. Why? We never signed it. We never signed it. So technically, yeah. Well, because we didn't want to join a thing called the League of Nations that we created. So it's kind of one of those trivia facts. What world war are we still involved in? World War I, we never signed the treaty. All right, so it's written by Woodrow Wilson. It's called the 14 Points. Here are our dudes. Okay, this is Italy, France, Britain, of course. He's so sad. British people aren't happy. And then, of course, our dude, Woodrow. He's having a good time. He looks like what? A bulldog? Kind of. But the bulldog is going to come up later, of course, and that's going to be our great Winston Churchill, who's actually called the bulldog. All right, here we go. So this is what you need to know. It's called the 14 Points. You need to know it outlaws, just 2 bullets, outlaws secret treaties. You are no longer allowed to have secret treaties, which is why we have treaties today. Does anyone know what treaty we're involved in? NAFTA is a trade treaty, but you're not wrong. The UN, that's a organization. We're in NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And that's with like England, France, Sweden, all that stuff. While I was working this last week, NATO had a meeting in Tampa. It was so cool. I saw rangers from the United States, like U.S. Rangers, which are like, people can kill you in like 7,000 different ways. And I saw Swedish ones. I saw French ones. I saw a German one. And they're all in the little uniforms. Yeah, we had a big gathering. It was so cool. It was so cool. They were all wearing the little, huh? Okay, no, they won't publish that information, you weirdos. Anyway, it was so cool. They had a meeting of NATO, and I was like, oh my god, as soon as I saw the uniforms coming in, and I was like, NATO! It was so cool. Because the command, Central Command is in Tampa. Well, all of our intelligence agencies that are filtering information that's sent it overseas is in Tampa at McDowell. All right, what?
What was the first one?
First point is no secret treaties. Okay? And a reduction of armies. No secret treaties, a reduction of armies. Second major thing you need to write is that colonial colonies were to, you were supposed to decline your amount of colonies. Everyone's supposed to reduce their colonies. Why are people reducing their colonies? Because that created the war in the first place. What do you got?
Do we have to know what points we're
No, you do need to know the 14 points, but I'll tell you exactly what you need to know. Okay? You need to know that self-determination was used to liberate some colonies. Self-determination was used to liberate some colonies. That means that countries that wanted their independence got their independence. So some in Africa got theirs. Some. But guess where they're definitely not giving independence? They actually created a system in order to regulate it. The Middle East, because what do we need? Oil. So when people say the United States and the West are only oil-grubbing countries, is it true? Because we were giving independence to a lot of African countries, we were giving independence to a lot of Asian countries, but we were not giving independence. We became even tougher on the Middle East, and the reason is oil. All right, the next one is the 14th point, and you should write down the 14th point, because this whole thing is called the 14th point. The 14th point creates the League of Nations, so you do need to know that. It is a worldwide legislative body that would come together and make decisions to avoid war. What modern-day body is this modeled after? The UN. The League of Nations fails because what major world event? Yes, it's supposed to prevent war, and here we are having World War II coming up, so it obviously failed. The major difference between the League of Nations and the UN, does anyone know? The UN has an army, absolutely. They wear a cute little, this really pretty blue color. They have little round little helmets. You've never seen the Peacekeepers? Oh, okay. Well, it's a good look. Nope, you got a couple more. So, the next thing is you need to know the War Guilt Clause. The War Guilt Clause. It blames the entire war on Germany. Okay? The entire war is on Germany. Is that fair? No, it is completely unfair. Okay, for the rest, after the war, everyone's going to be picking on, save the reason why no one in this room is going to pass their AP exam is because of Catherine. Catherine is going to ruin our chances. How would we treat Catherine? Not good. We'd kick her. We'd punch her. Oh, we wouldn't? We wouldn't? Oh, crap. That's awkward. Okay? But if Catherine was the reason why we aren't going to pass our AP exam, okay, we would treat her like crap. If Germany is the reason why $338 billion were spent, would we treat them with kindness or with, that's so cute. No. Lots of hostility. So the War Guilt Clause. Second thing is reparations. Reparations. Germany had to pay for the entire war. Whoa is right, Sydney. Whoa is right. Do you think this is going to help Germany's economy or crash Germany's economy? Crash it. So, if Germany has no money, their people are starving, are they going to be desperate? Are they going to start listening to a lunatic who says Germany is the most important country in the world? Germany is the most powerful country in the world, and Germany doesn't deserve to be treated like crap from all of these countries who are inferior, yes? Okay. Because they lost.
So they just
To a degree. Let's agree. All of these causes are happening. We talked about the major causes. A lot of people are involved, but they lost. So, to the victors go the spoils. They lost. They're out. Germany loses. Germany is forced to minimize its military to 250,000 people. Is that a large military or a small one? Small. 250,000 people. So they have to have a small military, and they are not allowed to have an air force or submarines. What is the newest type of warfare that's going to be waged? Airplanes and submarines. They're not allowed to have that technology. They're not allowed to arm themselves. Okay? So, war guilt, reparations, and they're not allowed to arm themselves. World War I and the Treaty of Versailles directly causes World War II. Because times are so tough in after World War I with the Treaty of Versailles, War Guilt Clause, there's no economy, there's satisfaction in their placement in the world. They have no economy because of the reparations. They have no military, nothing to be prideful of. Okay. With that being said, a lunatic named Adolf Hitler rises into power, correct? Saying these crazy things. And who does he blame?
Jewish people.
Who lost the war for Germany? Jews. Who should be punished? Jews. That's why when times are tough, your family's starving, You can't feed yourself. There's no hope of a job. What are you going to do? You're going to start listening to a lunatic who says if we start punishing these people, we start going ahead and doing these things, then it's going to work. Okay? And that's why Hitler becomes super popular. What do you got?
Does that like at all make any sense? Like, was there a Jewish country that
No. Hitler just needed a scapegoat. Like, for instance, if I catch you cheating, Matthew, you're going to make an excuse, correct? Well, it wasn't my fault. I was up really late. You know, Cozy has a test today. Good luck today, by the way.
Oh, we don't finish it. She'll finish it tomorrow.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
really?
you.
Wait, what happened?
We get to finish cozy test tomorrow.
She always makes the test too long now.
I know. Well,
It's a good thing. I get to see her.
Anyway, so Matthew's going to come at me and start using all these excuses. That's what the Jews were. They were an excuse. They're an easy excuse that history is always used, correct? It's a Jew's fault. It's a Jew's fault. There you go. That's why they come into play. All right, so Germany after the treaty, we're going to see it's not going to go well for them. It's going to cause World War II, of course. Here we got some Germans. Look at the hats. Okay, we're going to see the Treaty of Versailles, military restrictions. So, the Russian Revolution, of course, we covered it to a degree, but let me give you a little more background information. So, who is this? Tsar Nicholas II, the Romanovs, okay? Why? Because it's cool, but you should know who this chick is. Anastasia.
Oh my goodness, isn't there a movie about her?
yeah, it's so good. And there's now a Broadway musical. And it's really, really good.
How are we supposed to know?
So good.
Hi, she dies in the room next door.
No, that's a lie.
Spoiler.
She dies. She doesn't live.
Like Carl.
Yeah. Like Carl? Who's Carl?
Wait, who's Carl?
I don't know who Carl is.
Dad.
I won't watch it.
My husband doesn't watch it either. Okay, here we go. Let me get back to Russia. I gotta get to Rasputin. Do you know Rasputin?
Yeah.
I love Rasputin. What a guy.
Why?
What a guy. What a guy. The guy gets shot, stabbed in the neck, pushed into a river, and still barely kills him. It's crazy. We'll get to it. Barely kills him. Here we go. So, of course, we know that Russia is autocratic. The Romanovs have been in power since the mid-1500s. They're autocratic. They control every single thing. Okay? Alexander III, who is Nicholas II's father, is going to be a real jerk. Nicholas II only becomes a worse jerk. This is their summer house. Yes, they have a house for every season, by the way. By the way, this is near Sochi, Russia, which is where the last Winter Olympics were. This is one of Putin's favorite places to be, which is why he wanted it to be in Sochi, so he could stay at his little house. Yeah, really. No, that's really the justification for why the Russians put Sochi up. Is because Putin likes staying there. So, Russia is going to industrialize slightly. Just listen. Slightly under Tsar Nicholas II. Would we agree? You know that. We've already talked about it. The WIT system, slowly. Okay, there's a lot of problems. People are unhappy. When a country starts to industrialize, are things are good or bad for the people? Bad. So, there's revolution in the air, of course. And people are going to start fighting back. So, Lenin has been around since Bloody Sunday. He was a little kid when he watched that. 13 years later, he's going to be he was like in his early 20s when the Bloody Sunday. He's going to be in the early 30s when he takes power in Russia. Now, Lenin is going to be banished from Russia. He goes kicking it in France for a while, trying to influence people in France. And then as soon as chaos starts really erupting because of World War I, he's like, I'm going to sneak myself back in. So, I see you, Russia, struggling. I'm coming in. So, he comes back, and he is going to start. Now, it's important that you need to know, it's him. That's a real photo, man. No, he's awesome.
Such a quality.
Now, you do need to know that during the 20th century, we have some of the most influential orators in the history of the world. Lenin happens to be one of them. When we talk about orators, we're talking about people who, when they speak, you're completely mesmerized by them. A good example of this is Barack Obama. Whether you like his politics or not, I don't care. But when he speaks, you're listening to him, and you're kind of drawn into his little story, correct? It's hard to see Obama and not pay attention, right? George W., not an orator. When he speaks, you're like, oh my God, I have to turn this off. This is painful. Can we agree? Other major orators during the 20th century, of course, is Hitler. Hitler spoke with a cadence. He banged on his podium in a certain beat, so you're drawn in to the pace of his speech, and it makes you listen. Yes! See, it's good. He's good. Mussolini is just like this extravagant beast. Lenin, he just starts softly, and then by the end of the speech, the people are literally in a frenzy of raging. Yeah, let's go kill everyone. And that's exactly why Lenin was able to inspire the poor of Russia. Why?
He's kind of
Of course, we know Bloody Sunday happened in 1905. This is going to be the rally call. Remember, Bloody Sunday, never forget. Okay, we know this. So World War I is going to be the final start that really starts it. So many people are dying on the front lines and at home. So we have the March Revolution, and that's what's going to cause it. Of course, our Nicholas steps down, the Duma steps up. They're terrible. Okay, Rasputin, my boy. Yeah, that's him. So this is our Nicholas's wife. I can't think of her name at the moment, like Karina or something.
No, it's like Alexandra.
Oh, sure. Anyway, her youngest son has a blood disorder and super weak and was probably going to die early. So she gets in touch with this guy named Rasputin. If a guy named Rasputin, you should just know, right? Anyway, so she allows Rasputin to treat her youngest son, trying to save his life, and he does some sort of concoction, some like voodoo spell or something, and he actually significantly gets better. And so because she's saving the young son's life, who's supposed to be the king of Russia, the Tsar of Russia, she lets him do whatever the hell he wants. Rasputin kills like 16 people in the street one day, and he's like, come at me, bro. I'm the queen's BF. And they're like, damn, we can't touch him. And he spends crazy money. He gets crazy lavish gifts. He owns this massive palace. She just gives him a palace. She's like, oh, I like the palace. And he's like, oh, it's yours, Rasputin. No one else likes him. Creepy guy. Look at the guy. Okay? So anyway, they try having a coup, essentially, to kill him, to eliminate his influence. Well, anyway, they jump him in the middle. They jump him while he's going from the to the palace, and one of the guys shoots him in the chest, right in the heart. He falls to the ground, and then gets up.
Is this the guy who was like...
Yeah, he just won't die. So he gets shot in like what looks like the heart, and there's like 6 people there watching him. I'm like, what the hell? He falls to the ground, and then he gets back up, and a guy is like, what the hell is happening? He has his knife out, and he like stabs Rasputin like in the neck. Rasputin pulls it out and shoves it up his like throat, and that guy's dead. And then everyone's like, what the hell is happening? So anyway, what they do is then the rest of the dudes just jump on him, and they start like stabbing him a bunch of times, and then they tie him up to like a rock or something, and they throw him into the river. And they thought they killed the guy. They ended up thinking he might have escaped, and they ended up finding his body like 3 weeks later in a different part of Russia, and he drowned there. Looking like he was trying to cross a river out of Russia.
Wait, how do you know he drowned there?
How comes body couldn't-
Because the 2 rivers don't connect.
You walked.
He was probably the devil. Wait.
It was crazy. It was crazy, man.
That's
So who's that? Like,
That's Anastasia.
who is that? Like,
Oh, that's the daughter. That's the mother. That's the daughter, and he was involved for, yeah. So she's going to be, so they capture, hold on, they capture the whole Romanov family. They capture all 5 kids. And Lenin, they storm the day they have the Bolshevik Revolution, they storm the Summer Palace and stuff like that. They end up capturing them in the Summer Palace. They don't get executed at the Summer Palace. They get caught, and then they're put in this nondescript random building's basement. And they're kept there for like 3 or 4 weeks. And Lenin's like, what the hell do we do with these people? And they're like, I don't know. So anyway, unceremoniously, one guy, no one knows who the guy is, goes downstairs and just shoots them all in the head. These are the ruling family of Russia. Yeah. So the March Revolution is going to happen. Okay. Then we have the Bolshevik Revolution.
Rasputin looks like Kylo Ren.
What is wrong with you? Now that's the only thing they're going to think about. So, and then Lenin is going to take power. Now the Bolsheviks are going to be in power, and then we're going to have a civil war. The civil war is eventually going to leave the Mensheviks and the Bolsheviks. Mensheviks are moderate, moderate. Okay? Eventually, the outcome is 14 million people are going to die. Bolsheviks do win. Because look how big Russia is. Okay, the Bolsheviks are going to win. Lenin is going to restore power. He centralizes his power. He takes over everything. He takes over land. He takes over businesses. He takes over everything. So is it a communist government or a socialist government? Socialist, because a communist has no government. So that was a trick. So he creates a socialist thing. His plan is to give it back to the people because he really does believe in Marxism. He really does. He's a huge proponent of it. However, he's going to have a couple strokes, and the final one is going to happen in 1922. He's going to have his final stroke. He knew he was dying, so he ended up giving up the party. You want to write down Union Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR. That's the government he creates. Officially comes into power in 1922, not during the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917 because there's a civil war, and the civil war is going to rage from 1917 to 1922. And then in 1922, he's going to create the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR, which is going to last until 1991, by the way. Anyway, so he's going to create this. He knows he's dying. He keeps having strokes, so he's going to have to give up control. He ends up giving control to a guy named Stalin. Stalin does not believe in communism, but he sees that there's a power vacuum. And he sees this as an opportunity for him to take over and control every single aspect of Russia. And does he do it? Yes. He killed more people than Hitler did, ladies and gentlemen. So when people say, oh, Hitler's the worst guy in history, now believe me, he's done some horrific things, absolutely. There is no forgiving Hitler, but Stalin killed more in his gulags, which is way more fun to say. Gulag. Say gulag. Gulag. Isn't it fun? It's fun. Gulag. They're prison camps. They're exactly like the Holocaust camps. They're exactly like it, except in Russia. Why don't we talk about all the terrible things Stalin did? No, because we're allies with Russia. We're allies with Russia, and we need the Russians on our team. Yeah, that's why we don't talk about him. That's why everyone thinks Hitler's the worst guy. Mao is eventually going to outwin everyone by killing more people, but he's mostly because he's an idiot and kills his own people by accident to a degree. Some of it's on purpose. It's very strange. We'll get to it. So, Stalin's going to come into power. He industrializes Russia. Write it down. He industrializes Russia fully with a 5-year plan. The 5-year plan he creates and industrializes. So, if you know how if your parents go to work and they have a bad day and don't really produce much, they may get in trouble by their boss. Well, if you weren't producing and doing your job in Russia, they would just take you out back and shoot you. So, are people working really hard? Yep. Are people doing whatever it takes to industrialize? No one's protesting in the street here. You would just get executed. Okay, so this is our boy Stalin. Look at that stash. He kills tons and tons of people. And this is Lenin. This is one of the few times. Lenin and Stalin, because Stalin killed everyone else. He literally, anyone else that may take the power from Stalin, he killed them. Sometimes they did organizing like fight night to the death between rivals that you would fight. So me and Tanner are feuding. I would challenge him to a fight night, and then I would kill Tanner. Tanner's dead, and now I'm the next one closer. And then you could go up the ranks that way. Or you would just sneak into their home in the middle of the night and kill their entire family. It's either or. You can choose. It's whatever you want. You know, it's whatever. So, and that's it. To the boards. Here we go. What up?
So, can you explain the Schifflin plan again?
The Schifflin plan is Germany's plan to attack the west. What will be the Western Front, England and France, to go from Belgium to France, and all their military.
So it's Germany's plan.
Germany's plan to attack France through Belgium with all of its military, because they were the bigger threat because they're industrialized and had trains, while they thought the Russians were going to be super slow and take longer to get there. So they'd rather defeat the British and French than fight both sides. Did it work? No. However, it's a good try. On your whiteboard, please tell me, what are the 3 parts of the Russian Revolution in order, please? What are the 3 parts of the Russian Revolution in order, please? are they, Trey?
March, Bolshevik, and then the Russians will win.
On your whiteboard, please tell me who led the Bolshevik Revolution. What do you got, Will?
It's the Bolshevik Revolution, also known as the November
Yes.
Revolution.
What is it? Greta. Lenin. Who is going to replace Lenin in 1922? And he's one of my favorites. I love Stalin. He just doesn't give up. Who is it, Miss Murphy? Stalin. On your whiteboard. Stalin industrializes Russia with the name of what plan? Good, Benji. 5-year plan. On your whiteboard, please tell me. Who was the first country to declare war in World War I? It's a repeat question because most of you didn't get it. Good. Kayla. Austria-Hungary. On your whiteboard, please tell me. Oh, fun fact, write this down. Alright. You need to know that Joseph Caillou, I don't know. Okay, he wants countries to restore civil liberties post-World War I. He is American. No. Because he's a big deal for us, the United States. Because during, by the way, if the United States declares war today, again, World War III today, and we go to a total war, sadly, Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan have currently a war. If we go to war today in a total war situation where everything changes, you're not allowed to criticize the U.S. government. You could be in prison because it jeopardizes our war plans. So he says that after World War I, countries should roll back all of their war tactics, or all of their infringements on civil liberties, which means the government shouldn't control everything. Goodbye.